Security, Medicare, then exit Afghanistan now. That's just one of the places we could exit on.
Bet.
Yeah.
Bet. Save $600 billion this year.
From just Afghanistan?
Oh no, $600 billion for the Defense Department's budget. 20 billion of that goes for air conditioning tents, when they could do that at a fraction of that money.
Sounds like it's the $600 hammer thing all over again.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. Where's our history? Where's our learning? You know, I mean, we've been down these roads, and we're still out here repeating it.
Well, one of the rallying cries at the mayor's conference late last month was "Bring our dollars home," and that, I mean, they represent the major cities in this country. They're short of money. There's no, I mean, schools are going down, roads are going down, bridges are going down. One thing that we are now pushing, and I've just finished an article for Truth Out on it, is to resurrect the WPA.
The work program for jobs, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There are 15, as of May's statistics from the Bureau of Labor, there are about 15 million people out of work. 800, almost 900 of them have been looking for 2 years and have found nothing and have given up. The way that we're setting it up, or we're advocating that Obama or some smart candidate does just what Franklin Delano Roosevelt did in 1935, and that is with executive order, by executive order instituting the WPA. We have 15 million unemployed. We have 2.2 trillion in infrastructure needs by the year 2014. With the WPA, the person who headed that, Harry Hopkins, in 7 months after the executive order came through, he had 3.8 million people work with the WPA.
Gosh, let's do it.
Yeah, they were working 140 hours a month. The unskilled got about $26 in the average a month, but it beat relief. Of those people, only one member of a family could be on a WPA job. But they did thousands and thousands and thousands of ordinary infrastructure, repair, building bridges, fixing roads. But they also did things like, a lot of people don't know, they taught 1 million people how to read, plus 90,000 draftees, mostly from the South.
Draftees to what, into the military?
Yeah.
No, I don't like that part.
Well, the fact is, though, that they could not read, and WPA volunteers taught them to read.
I like the reading.
Well, they
but I don't like to drafting them into the military.
Well, this was...
But I mean, you can't have everything.
This was World War II.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, to find that you have 90,000 kids in the Army who can't read, and they fixed that. They did parks and recreation jobs. They staffed libraries because you can't, I mean, they did all this stuff. I mean, and they did it on a minimum. The first year it was $1.4 million. They didn't have a war going on, and it was very difficult to wrest that money out of Congress, but they did. Today, we could resurrect that. We can bring a ton of, well, the Corps of Engineers ran that program and bossed all those people building dams and all that stuff. We're suggesting they do the same thing, but add the Seabees. Seabees is the U.S. Navy's construction battalion. They've been around since 1941. In Afghanistan, I think it was 1,700 of them this last year that did 625 projects, like digging wells, but you know, doing highways and doing fixing that kind of stuff. We need them at home. They also, one of the things on a WPA big project like a dam, I know in northern, I think it's the northeastern corner of Montana, when they were building the Fort Peck Dam, and beginning in 1935, they had 10,500 WPA workers on that project. They needed tents. They were living with cardboard. But 10,500 people, and this town called Glasgow, up there in the northern corner of eastern Montana, those people spent their money in Glasgow. The Glasgow businesses prospered. That increased money that went in state revenues, city revenues, and it also settled several new towns. One of them was Wheeler. That's what will happen with this kind of project.
Do you feel like there's some hope that this may happen?
Well,
potential?
Paul Kruger, the New York Times columnist, and he was a Nobel Prize in economics, said, bring back the WPA. Robert Herbert, who was a New York Times columnist, has his own website, bring back the WPA. The former Secretary of Labor, Robert Reich, says, bring back the WPA. What is Obama not doing? He's had 2 conferences on jobs because he's really concerned about jobs, and he had a Blue Ribbon Committee, mostly big business, small business, about 4 mayors, labor, and I think it was academics on the Jobs Summit. Well, they recommended WPA. And did he hear him? No. And so when unemployment has come up, really, I mean, we're at, what, 9.6? Not even counting the people who stopped looking. He set up another called the Jobs Council. Same thing. It looked as though he was using that. He was going to do something. Same kind of Blue Ribbon Committee. And then why don't they ask somebody who's unemployed to be on one of those committees? Why doesn't he ask some of the staff from the unemployment offices to be on those things? He didn't do it, and so people said, and this includes the black community, progressives, House Progressive Committee, a lot of columnists, he's full of hot air, and that was a publicity stunt.
Well, so then on one hand, I'm thinking maybe there is hope because of some of these big names that are pushing for it. Yeah. But then on the other hand, look, we're pushing for a lot of things, and we don't get...
Well, but now here, just a couple weeks ago, a Republican conservative columnist, Rich Lowry, in his column said, people want to work. We need jobs. And he was saying, why doesn't Obama pivot and set up something like the WPA? And so when you get a Republican conservative columnist saying, we need the WPA,
maybe this is something we can force him into doing. It'd be nice to get him to force him to stop the effing wars.
I have an article with all of this and how to do it. In other words, you got to bring back all of the equipment that the Army's been using. My dad was a Seabee, and when he left the South Pacific, he was furious at all the equipment they left behind.
Yeah. This
is hugely expensive stuff. They can bring even MREs to feed people on this stuff. So bring home the equipment. The Army, the Department of Defense, anyway, would look pretty good.
Now, where would they read this article that you got?
It's going to be in Truthout.
On truthout.org or .org?
Yeah.
And would they look up by your name, or what's the title possibly?
The title is about resurrecting the WPA.
Okay.
And the subtitle is, why not?
Okay.
And I quote all these guys, and I have a little history in there of the WPA and just a sampling of the 1,000 projects they did.
Good.
They weren't just leaning on shovels, because they got rid of people who were doing that kind of stuff.
Good.
And so, and then how to implement it. The last part of it is, this is what you're going to do with your personnel. I mentioned the Seabees. The Seabees can build the housing in Afghanistan. They made housing tents, for like 35,000 troops. And they had a galley. I'm not sure how many galleys they had, but they were feeding 75,000. The galleys they built were feeding 75,000 troops.
We need to do it for constructive good reasons instead of the killing war machine.
Well, we're saying, in the WPA, you learned a skill from, say, the Corps of Engineers, somebody was teaching you, and you passed it along to the person behind you. And so they didn't have training periods. They didn't have time to do training. They didn't have time to waste on that sort of thing. And so, this is one of the things, if Obama doesn't do, yeah, I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. He said at that last, I think it was the news conference before, he said, well, in a time like this, we're going to have bumps in the road. Instantly, the next day, Mitt Romney's campaign crew had a video up with 12 unemployed, each saying, I'm an American. I am not a bump in the road. And they're going to run that all through this campaign.
We need to get on the program. Get on the stick. Get on the program.
Yeah.
You got good info. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
Okay.